Obamacare. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Stupid people are ruining America.
The president just wants to take care of you. He just doesn't think you're able to do it for yourself.
There's a very thin line between communism, progressivism, Marxism, socialism.
The empire will strike back.
You still don't know that this was political.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show, this week's episode of America Our Way. I am your host, Dustin Hoyt. I've got a great show here today, I think. Got a lot of good stuff, crazy stuff that's been going on in the media. Lots of stuff worth talking about, I think. So, we're on the new website here. Got a lot of people here that are going to be making their way as we go along. Trying to get everybody in line here. Seems to be confusion with the new site. So, let me see if I can't help some of you people out. We're all going to laugh about this later after we've gotten it together. Okay. Now, as you all know, we've got the anniversary of the Kennedy assassination coming up on Friday. We also had the anniversary of the Gettysburg Address. And now we've got a lot of stuff to talk about because, as you know, you may have seen it in the news today. We had Obama handing out the Medal of Freedom, as big of a joke as that is, and we've got things like some serious instances today that I want to talk about of Americans having freedom taken from them. I mean, there are so many cases of it that happen every day, and I couldn't possibly cover all of them. But I'm going to try and cover some. There were a few examples that were particular to my area here that I feel like really deserve some attention and some conversation that they may not otherwise be getting. And one of which that I want to lead off with here is Master Sergeant C.J. Grisham. Now, Army Master Sergeant C.J. Grisham has been on trial here in Temple, Texas. It's right down the road from me, for interfering with police business. How did he interfere with police business? Well, he was hiking with his son, who was working on his Eagle Scout stuff. He had, I think, a badge that he was working on, and they were doing a hike. And Army Master Sergeant Grisham was carrying a rifle, an AR-15, loaded. Now, the Master Sergeant has his concealed handgun permit, and he is a Master Sergeant, which, as I understand it, is the highest possible rank that an enlisted man can attain. It's the highest you can get as an enlisted man. So, needless to say, he's pretty familiar with firearms. He'd been in the military over a decade. I think he probably had shot a gun or two. And as he's walking through Temple on this back road, somebody called the police on him. So, police show up, and we're not sure what happened at this point because the police have refused to turn over their dash cam video. So we don't know exactly what happened until his son started filming. And his son started filming about when police decided to arrest him. And you can see from the video, I've posted it on my social sites earlier today, link from KXXV. They had the video up on their website, as well as a little synopsis of what's going on. Synopsis, excuse me. But to give you the nutshell here, the police had asked him, what he was doing with the rifle, and he said, because I can. And they asked if it was loaded, and he said, of course it's loaded. And they went on to arrest him after he basically refused to give up his weapon. Police officers do have a right, as many of you know, to take your weapon when they're questioning you, to check your weapon for automatic function, because if it's got automatic fire rate, it's obviously illegal unless you've got your Class 3 license and everything. But by all accounts, he did submit to this sort of questioning. However, the idea behind the police being able to disarm you and stuff is only if you're being suspected of committing a crime or you are threatening somehow. An Army Master Sergeant and an Eagle Scout walking through the back roads hiking is not threatening to anybody. And if it is threatening, then we've got obviously bigger problems in this country, which we do. Nobody's disputing that. But the Master Sergeant refused to hand over his weapon, and police arrested him for it, took his weapon, and when he got to Temple, they did not charge him with a single gun crime. Not one. There were no charges whatsoever regarding guns. And Temple PD asked him to plead out to lesser charges. They offered it to him as like a, we're going to help you out kind of thing. And so they gave him the interfering with police business nonsense. So rather than pleading out and just taking the lick for that, he said, hell no, I'm an American citizen and I'm not going to be treated like this. So that's what he did. And he took it to court. And they've been battling for months now. I remember this happened in June or July, I believe, and it's been going on since. The first jury in the first trial came out last month and ruled no ruling. They issued no ruling. They were undecided as a hung jury. And so they came back and they ruled yesterday, a new jury, and said that he was guilty of interfering with police business. Now keep in mind, there was no dash cam video showing what happened when the police arrived. There was no evidence about what happened when police showed up, except for the accounts of the police officers and the video that his son recorded. Now, the video is, it's not okay. I mean, it's decent enough, but it doesn't show the whole story. And honestly, the only way that you can get the real story, the only way that you can understand exactly what happened in this situation is if police had bothered to release the video. But they didn't. They did not care about it at all. And they actually ignored the ruling of one judge to submit the video. They refused. You had people filing Freedom of Information Acts everywhere, and now you've got lawmakers that are trying to push for laws that require police to release their dash cams. I mean, that's why they have dash cams. One of the reasons why is so that you can have a better representation of the law, of what's actually happening in various situations, so you don't get people falsely accused. Now, C.J. Grisham came out and put a statement out after he got his conviction. He said, "What this jury just told the people of Bell County is that police officers around here can walk up to you and take your personal property. They can take your firearm, and they don't have to have a reason for it. They don't have to tell you a reason for it." Now, I personally think he's got a point. I think that as a law enforcement officer, you can't walk up to somebody without just cause. Now, if a police officer says, you're threatening, that's not, especially if the man says he's not threatening, he's got the magazine out, all that good stuff. He doesn't have his hands on the gun. You can't really make that claim. But what's worse is these Temple officers came out and basically put a gun to the guy's head. Well, not basically, literally. The one of the officers pulled a gun and put it to his head. And all because he was carrying a rifle lawfully. And he was doing it to protect himself from feral hogs, which, if you live in Texas, it's a real problem. You have a lot of feral hogs around here tearing up everything. It's a big deal. And I really hate that people are so terrified of guns and that people don't understand the situation in America that happens with gun owners. I mean, you can't hardly go anywhere with guns and run into law enforcement because they will disarm you or take you to jail for refusing to be disarmed. Now, personally, I think most cops are just trying to do their job, and I think that, if they ask to hold your weapon while they're questioning you, I think that's pretty fair. I don't like it. I can't really deal with the fact that the state should be armed and we shouldn't, and we have to submit our weapons to them when they request it, because, quite frankly, there are many instances where you need your own weapon. But I think as a reasonable person, I know a lot of reasonable cops, and their first instance of when they see somebody with a weapon, their first thing is, hey, I am not going to be shot, so you need to hand this to me while I ask you a few questions. And so I can understand that. I can understand why a police officer would take that weapon off your hands, would grab it, and question you. And if you look at most videos online, they, with open carry protests and stuff, they'll take the weapon, check if it's fully automatic, ask you what you're doing, and hand it right back to you. Most police officers are patriotic, gun-loving Americans, and they've got no problem with law-abiding citizens holding guns, because they know just as well as we do that those guns are going to be there to protect other citizens if something goes on. They don't care. Most often. You can see videos of this. There were two kids walking down the highway, young guys, and a cop pulls them over, checks the weapon for being fully automatic, unloads it, hands it back to him, asks them what they're doing. And they say, "Oh, we're just exercising our rights." And the cop says, "All right, good. Well, thank you. I know no crime's going to be happening here. Not with two guys carrying assault rifles." And that's exactly how it is in 99% of situations. All you have to do is, let the cop know, hey, I am not threatening you with this weapon. Here, you want to check it, check it. If I was in LA, of course I would not ever give up the weapon. But here in Texas, you can let the cop check your weapon or hold it while they question you. Now, if they try to cart your butt off to jail after that, then yeah, you got a problem. And